Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Autism Athletics podcast. This is going to be a special episode today as we are going to talk about the LeBron James decision. So let's get into it. So we'll start with LeBron's decision. So I had been getting notifications on my phone from ESPN. That little ESPN sound notification had been going off, and every time I checked my phone, I'd be like, "Oh, maybe this is the time when LeBron makes his decision." And every time I'd look at it, I'd be like, "No, no, nope, nope." And then Friday it went off about 11 or 12, I can't remember. And I saw that and I was like, wow, I'd been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. So yeah, it finally happened. He's decided to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. Did it surprise me? Yes and no. From a basketball standpoint, it didn't surprise me, but I thought he's going to go back home to Cleveland. There were other teams in the running like Golden State and Miami, but I thought it was going to come down to Miami, Philly, and uh, Cleveland. But I thought he was going to go down to Miami and Cleveland just so he could go back to his team and have that final chapter to his career. And Giannis would have been the best player he got to play with. But yeah, so that's my initial reactions, and I think everybody was stunned, not just where he decided to go, but that he actually made the decision. Like every day, we kept thinking, "Oh, is he going to make the decision? Is he going to make the decision?" And he finally did. So, if you want to comment below and just tell me your initial reactions to the LeBron James decision, yeah, just let me know below because I would love to hear what you have to say. As I was just stunned. So now let's take a look at his new team, the 76ers, and their outlook. 76ers outlook. 76ers have a good team around them. They could easily have the best starting lineup in the league. They got Tyrese Maxey, VJ Eshcombe, LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, and Joel Embiid. And then off their bench, they got Anthony Simons, and they drafted LeBron Fallon, who I thought was a steal. He went in the 20s instead of being a lottery pick like I thought he was going to be, and he averaged like 20 a game his second year in college. And not only that, but they got Dean Wade, who's a decent shooter, and then they just signed Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who's going to give you more more depth at the wing position, which they need. Now they do need a backup center with Joel Embiid's health. Adam Bona, while he's okay, I guess, he's really more of a third string center, and the center market's not great right now, but they should think about maybe even later in the season uh, going out and getting somebody, even if you had to trade like a second round pick or two. But just go out and get somebody. Just fill out their depth. I don't think their depth is great, but when you have a starting lineup like they do, I don't know that it's going to really matter. And I do think it's not the worst depth in the league. Now let's get into it. LeBron will most likely be the third scoring option, and he'll probably be their number two leading rebounder, and he'll lead the team in assists. He'll be that facilitator. While Tyrese Maxey's okay in that category, I do think LeBron is by far the best in that category. And down the stretch in games, Jaylen Brown and LeBron James are going to be the two you want to go to, even though Maxey will probably average more points than LeBron. Joel Embiid, when he's healthy, he can be an all-star level player too. This team has the potential for 4 all-star and 4 20-point per game scores. I don't think 4 20-point per game scores have ever happened on one NBA team among players that qualify. But qualify. Now, can they figure out chemistry? Not only are you adding LeBron, but you also added Jaylen Brown, adding 2 big-time players like that, and then the players they added to the bench. Like, they're going to have to figure out chemistry. Now, they upset the Celtics and made it to the second round last year, so we know they're a solid team, and VJ Edgecombe is young and only getting better. So, what is my ceiling and floor with them? My ceiling is 60 wins. So that means Joel Embiid stays and LeBron and everybody stays relatively healthy. They're the best starting lineup in the league. They're top 3 to 5 on offense, top 3 to 5 in rebounding, and definitely above average on defense. Maybe even top 10. Maybe even top 10. So 60 wins is kind of their ceiling. The Pistons won 60 games, and I think this is a better team. Their floor is about 51. That either means they're not healthy or they just can't figure out chemistry. They lack depth. And defensively, they're not quite as good as you think. But 50 wins for your floor is still very good for a floor. So that's kind of my predictions. And the East has gotten a lot better with Kawhi Leonard joining the Raptors and others, the Atlanta Hawks getting better drafting Henry Vessar and Kingston Flemings, and they're just got a lot of pieces around their team, and Jalen Johnson's getting better and better, playing like a third team All NBA. So they're getting better. You can't count out the Celtics with a healthy Jason Tatum, and they've got other solid players like Pritchard and Derek White and others. Of course, the Knicks, the reigning champs, who have one of the best starting lineups in the league with OJ Anunoby and stuff like that, and Jalen Brown, Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges. So they have a really good team too. I didn't love their depth even last year when they won it all, but they've got a really good team too. We haven't had a repeat champ in over I think like 8 years, so I'm not predicting them to win it all again, but we'll get to that. So that's kind of what I think about the 76ers outlook, and it should be interesting. Let's look at how they're going to look as a team. LeBron, he can definitely shoot the ball, but even though his shooting 3-point percentage wasn't as good as last year, he's always going to shoot high from the field because he's so good in the paint and he takes really good shots and he's unstoppable when driving to the hoop. He's going to get to the foul line. He's going to facilitate. He's the best point forward in the league, even after Draymond Green. He's even better than that. And then you got Jalen Brown who can defend and who can score inside and out and is very athletic. You got VJ Edgecombe who can be a good defender and he can score inside and out, and he's young. He's only going to get better, and as he showed flash in the playoffs. You got Tyrese Maxey who can drive to the hoop fast, can shoot, and he'll get a decent amount of steals even though defense is not his forte. And then you got Joel Embiid who, when healthy, he can dominate. He can be a double-digit rebounder, and he can score inside and out, and he's strong and big at 7 foot, and I want to say he's like 250 plus, maybe even like 260 plus. So if they can, and they've got a solid coach. I want to say Nick Nurse is their coach, but don't quote me on that. So they've got a solid team going forward, and so that's kind of my outlook on the 76ers. I might be way off, but what do you think? What do you think? I know some people are probably going to predict them to have a higher record than that, just given the fact they're just absolutely loaded, and you could argue the most loaded team in the league. But with the East improving, and then with those two top teams in the West, the Spurs and the Thunder, who I still think have more depth, it's going to be hard to predict them winning more games than that. And even though the Pistons won 60 games last year, I didn't buy them going into the playoffs. I was like, I got to see it before I can believe it. And so now let's look at some NBA predictions. So, like I said, I think the 76ers should be a very good team. I think they'll be number one in the East, and I predict 58 wins. That's what I've come up with. Everybody's relatively healthy. 60s their ceiling, 50s their floor, like I said, but I think 57, 58 wins is pretty realistic for them, and I don't think that's asking too much. And I think they'll go all the way to the NBA Finals. I think the Raptors are a sleeper in the East. Adding Kawhi Leonard, still got Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, Colin Murray, Boyle. Like they've got a good team. The Hawks should be right in that 5, 6, 4 to 7 spot, which are all interchangeable. Or I would really say 5 to 7, which is all interchangeable. The Cavs, assuming they re-sign James Harden, they should be in that 4 or 5 slot, and they could get to the conference finals. But I don't think they're going to win the East. If they had LeBron, they would. But unfortunately, they weren't able to get him. The Celtics, they'll still be good. They'll still probably win at least 50 games. They still got a fully healthy Jason Tatum. They've got Paul George, say what you want, but he's still a decent NBA player. Peyton Pritchard, like I said earlier, and Derek White. They added Mitchell Robinson, who's not a good foul shooter, but he's athletic, really good in the restricted area, and can be a good rim protector. So those are kind of my favorites. But don't sleep on the Wizards. If the Wizards are healthy with Trae Young and AJ Devancer from the draft and Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr, they could definitely be a playing team, maybe even sneak into that 7-8 spot and maybe even win a game in the playoffs. Like I would say 6 actually, 6 seed at the absolute best. And they've got a talented team, but they've got injury concerns as well, just like I said with Joel Embiid, and they haven't really played together, so they've got chemistry issues. Or I don't know if it'd be an issue, but just question marks. And so that's who I got. And then in the West, you can't go against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They still got SGA, an MVP caliber player. And even with Lou Dort gone, they still got Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein. And then I would start McCain just for his shooting. And then you would have Mara, the center from Michigan, coming off the bench. He'll probably be their backup center. You would have Kason Wallace, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams off your bench. So that is a deep, deep team. And then the Spurs, they were young, and they still have Big Wembanyama, who's a Defensive Player of the Year and MVP potential. And they've got Dylan Harper, who was just a rookie and averaged like 13 a game and looked good in the playoffs. They got Stephon Castle. If he can just cut down those turnovers, because he had way too many in the playoffs. I think he had an 11 turnover. He can be really good, and he does need to work on his three-point shot, but he's one of the more athletic players in the league, and he defends, and he's got good size at 6'5", 6'6", can play multiple positions, and they've got depth. Adding Tobias Harris, now you can bring Champagnie off the bench. You've got Kelvin Johnson you can bring off the bench. You've still got Devin Vassell on your team, Harrison Barnes, Luke Cornett. Like, this is going to be a really good team, assuming Victor Wembanyama can stay healthy. And then my bold prediction is that the Jazz are going to make the NBA playing game and are going to win about 40 games. They've got Ace Bailey, who came off an underrated rookie year, who got better and better and averaged about 13, almost 14 a game and had a 37-point game. And then they've got Keontae George, who averaged like 23 a game. Larry Markkinen, who is an all-star level player. Jaren Jackson Jr., if he plays the five, he'd be undersized, but that's who I'd put because you don't want to take Ace Bailey out of the starting lineup, and who else is going to play center for you? And then you've got Darren Peterson, who can be an all-star, maybe even all-NBA level talent, but he's just a rookie now, and they've got a really good starting lineup. And then you've got Isaiah Collier coming off your bench, who had a 20-assist game last year and averaged like 7 assists a game. Don't be surprised if he leads all bench players in assists. And he might even have to be their leading scorer off the bench, especially if he can upgrade that jump shot. So those are kind of my predictions. And then I think the Timberwolves will be improved, adding LaMelo Ball. There's some things you could nitpick about him, like his efficiency and his shot selection, but he's a good three-point shooter. He's a very good foul shooter, and he can play make, and he's definitely a huge upgrade over Mike Conley Jr. at the point guard position. Even if they lost Julius Randle, I just think you need somebody to run the offense, and I think that was a good pickup. Now, unfortunately, Dante DiVincenzo is going to be out for the year, and I don't know if they have enough all-around depth. And then the Knicks, and then not the Knicks, the Rockets and the Nuggets, I expect them to win high 40s, low 50s in games. But I don't expect them to make too much noise in the playoffs, as the Nuggets lost Valanciunas, and they lost Tim Hardaway Jr., I think, and Peyton Watson still a free agent. And the Rockets, all they really added was Marcus Smart, and they will get Fred and Philippe back from injury. And so those are my NBA predictions. And I don't think the Clippers will be as good, losing Kawhi. And the Warriors, they'll get Jimmy Butler back healthy, and they still got Kristaps Porzingis if he can stay healthy. And, of course, Steph Curry. And then they drafted Yaxel Lindeborg, who's looking like an absolute steal. And so far in the Summer League, he looked like one of the best NBA prospects. We'll see if he looks more like he should have gone way higher, or if he looks like where he was drafted. I still think he was a lottery pick, though, so he still had fairly high expectations. And then the Trailblazers should be better getting Ja Morant and getting Damian Lillard back healthy. But we'll see with the two-point guard lineup if that'll actually work, and if Ja Morant can actually stay on the court and not have locker room and off-the-court issues and stuff like that. And the Suns, they'll probably be the last playoff team. They've still got Dylan Brooks and Devin Booker, who's changing his number to 15, by the way. And so those are just kind of my predictions. I don't expect the Bucks to be good again. And then let me go back to the East and tell you the Heat. The Heat will definitely be a better team if they added Giannis, who will be number 7. And that's a better player than who they had last year by far. Now, they did lose Norman Powell, who's another shot creator, but adding a two-way player like Giannis is going to help them a lot. And I think Bam. Say what you can nitpick some of his shooting percentages, but Bam is definitely a better player than anybody that Giannis had last year on the Bucks. So, and coached by Eric Spoelstra, who's a better coach. So I think the Bucks could be a high 40s to low 50s win team, and I just think Giannis is going to be rejuvenated, and he could have an all first team All NBA, maybe even in the MVP discussion. And then all the rest of the teams that I didn't mention, I really don't have high expectations for them. Um, so yeah, the only other team is maybe the Hornets, even though they lost LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. They still got Con Canepa, who's coming off a really good rookie year, challenged Cooper Flag for Rookie of the Year, and he could be an all-star. Maybe he gets closer to 23, 24, even 25 being the guy and just continuing to hit open shots at a super high level. And then so they could maybe still be a playing team. And they still got Brandon Williams. They got Ryan Cockbrenner's coming off a decent rookie year. And then last, we'll go back to the West and we'll talk about the Mavericks. The Mavericks, I do expect them to be better. Cooper Flag was really, really good his rookie year, showcasing defense, athleticism, playmaking, rebounding. And I don't even think when it comes to defense and playmaking, he's reached his full potential. And he's an 80 plus foul shooter, but his 3-point shot, while he showed flashes, and he did have a 50-point game, which is crazy for a rookie. Even somebody as good as him, I wouldn't have expected that. But um, he only shot like 29, 30% from three. If he can get to 35 to 36% consistently and make about two a game, because I don't want him to make more than that, because then that means he's attempting way more. And I think about 5 or 6 is probably the cap I want him to hit, but he can be an all NBA level player for sure. And then they get Kyrie Irving back from injury. Clay wasn't good for them. He's not. He's past his prime. They should probably look at getting rid of him. And there's rumors of them trading PJ Washington. We'll see what they do with that. Still got Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford center, decent combo. But Kyrie can be an All NBA player. Maybe not first team, but he could be a second or third team All NBA player. He could average 25 plus, shoot high 30s to low 40s from three, 85 plus from the foul line, mid 40s from the field. And even though he's not known for his playmaking, he'll probably still lead the team with about 6 assists a game, and he's one of the best, if not the best, ball handler in NBA history. He's got a mid-range game. He's one of the best finishers in the game, maybe the best finisher that doesn't really dunk a whole lot. So those are kind of my NBA predictions. And as you can see on my screen, I'm on YouTube for my full videos, and then I'm on Spotify for my full videos to listen to, and then I'm on Instagram where you can find me. Um, and I also will post on Facebook some, and you can find me at Autism Athletics on all those. So those are my predictions and what I think about the LeBron decision. Let me know what you think, and I can't wait for this NBA season, as it could be one of the best ones as that we've had in a while. So thank you so much, and please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and do all that. And as I love a good debate, and I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much.